The first impression moving on to it, I was worried that the 200 wouldn't be enough when we were first getting it. And I remember telling my wife, like, I'll just go to the basement if I want to, do more. I have not. Tonal it's definitely a lot more difficult if you're going to, just to give it a round number, if you're going to bench 100 pounds with free weights versus 100 pounds on tonal, it's a lot harder. I like telling people I've got a buddy, played a bunch of football, real strong guy, came over one day and checked it out. And I'm like, what are you benching right now? And to whatever he was benching. And I'm like, all right, let's just do it at 100. So pulled the bench out for him, put it into, a tryout mode or add a friend, that kind of thing. And had him go on there, just did a free workout, put it at 100. And he was struggling. He had no idea that it was going to be that difficult. And I think a lot of it is the balance that's required with the way that the weight comes down. You're engaging other muscle groups. I've definitely noticed development outside of the target muscles a lot more.
Really?
I feel like I've been able to get much more well-rounded workouts using it.
Time to hit the gym, better do it smart. Get your own coach, there where you are. Start the day right, there in your home. With the smartest gym in the world, ready, set, go. Smart handle, smart bar, smart training, there you are. Customize, make it right, AI, form advice. Superset will show you what it's all about. It's a Tonal workout.
Welcome to the Superset Podcast, episode 14. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hi.
Hi.
So you made the big switch.
I did.
To the world of Apple, which means you have an Apple Watch.
Yes.
Which means you can play with the tonal on your Apple Watch.
Yeah, it's I have to say that's pretty darn cool to be able to turn the weights off and on with my watch.
Yeah, that would come in handy.
I really like it on the rope. Whenever I use the rope, because the rope doesn't have a button.
Oh, it doesn't have the clicker thing on it.
Right. So so I always go over to the machine and click it because they don't have like an extra piece. You can move it from the barbell over to your rope, but I don't like to do that. So now I can just like boop boop on my wrist. Boop.
Is it one boop or is it two boops?
It's two to turn it on, one to turn it off.
I gotcha.
And then the other cool thing is that if you have Apple Music set up, then you can make your tonal go in and play your playlists off of Apple Music as well.
Oh, that's spiffy.
Yeah, so that's been pretty cool to play around with.
It's all Roger Klein and the Peacemakers.
No, but I have been digging deep into my 90s playlist. Because
that's the last time you updated your iTunes account?
No. It's just I have a bunch of favorite artists that yeah. But as it turns out, I overplayed a lot of songs in the 90s. So when I hear them now, it's a hit or miss. Like I either love it or I'm like, stop. Just stop.
You're still burned out on it?
Yes.
Wow, that's a long time to stay burned out on a song.
I know.
Normally that long, it's like, oh yeah, that song.
Yeah. Do you remember that song, Elastica Connection?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as good as it was then.
I think it is it called Connection? I thought it was Ready to Go.
No, it's Connection. I think they also had a song called Ready to Go.
Yeah, it was their big one. Was Ready or something. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay. I actually saw them live. That's how old I am.
Of course you did.
Saw them at
You saw everybody in the 90s.
I saw them at the Galaxy.
Of course you did.
That was the name of
My God, I always wanted to go to the Galaxy.
It was a dump.
I was too young to go.
There was nothing cool about the Galaxy. It was a dump.
It was cool.
So
everybody went to the Galaxy.
Well, I went to the Galaxy, so it couldn't have been that cool. So speaking of cool, what do you have in store for people this week?
Feedback on my 90s playlist.
That'll be next. That'll be in the next episode.
No, we're going to talk all about all the new content that Tonal has put out. New content. There's new enhancements. There's new features. It's just new. All kinds of new things. So we're going to hit all of that.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us. While you're there, you should be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also, while you're there, maybe leave us a review. And that way, people that come along after you know that we're worth a listen. We have a new review.
We do?
We do. Want to hear it?
Yes, I do.
This is from...
Wait, is it nice?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, I do.
Skipped the non-nice ones.
Okay, good.
So their screen name on iTunes is Was Here now not.
Okay.
Or washer inaunt.
Okay.
Could
Got
go either
it.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. It says, stumbled across this podcast while looking for info on Tonal. Lots of great info shared in an entertaining way.
Thank you.
So thank you. That was very nice of you.
Aww.
And also, if you want to stay up to date with us throughout the week, be sure and check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/supersetpodcast, where we post just different pieces of tonal information that could benefit you throughout the week.
Definitely.
So also, you can watch all of these episodes if you want to see them with video. It's on our YouTube channel that we built for our other podcast, youtube.com/theclipout. And you can watch all of these episodes in full HD glory, although we're trying to figure out a way to shoot me in SD. It's just a little better. Yeah.
But I like to show off my new tonal gear. So, that's
Ta-da.
If you want to see my new tank top, this is the place to see it.
So anyway, I guess that's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
New tonal features.
So Tonal this week announced some changes to the strength score.
They did. And I know we called it a new feature, and technically this is just an enhancement to a feature, but it's brand new. So we had to talk about it.
So that's what we're going to call it.
That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
So now the strength score has benchmarks. When you click on it in the app, you can see like where exactly per muscle group that you have gained the most versus gained the least. And because they changed it, some people went up in their score, some people went down in their score. I went up. Yes. I broke 400.
So that means she's a big fan of this new system.
Yes. Because before, the way that it was, if you hadn't done a certain exercise that you got a large PR on,
right,
and then like you did other programs, just didn't happen to use it.
It would kind of drop off.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't get credit for it anymore.
And then your strength score would drop.
Gotcha.
So prior to this, my highest score was 370, and it had dropped to like 348. And then I had been inching back up.
So it's like if I do something nice for you, like if I bring you flowers and then I go a long time without bringing you flowers, the credit that I received for bringing you the flowers has dropped off.
That is exactly right. Speaking of, did you know that you have never once bought me flowers?
Right. I don't want to affect my strength score. So like now you're not like, how come you don't bring me flowers anymore? Like I've never brought you flowers. I've brought you lots of nice things.
You have.
But never flowers.
Never.
I feel like flowers are kind of like an uncreative choice.
I hate to say that. I get where you're coming from.
So I like to do different things, other things.
Yes.
Like I've surprised you with nice things.
You are a great gift giver.
Yeah.
I am just giving you crap.
I know.
Okay.
But
you get a little sensitive about it.
But my strength score within the relationship is unchanged.
But as you can see on this screenshot, do you see on the right where it shows like back, biceps, chest? It's showing how you've improved over time. So like this person has improved like 300%.
Okay.
But it shows that like the biceps haven't gone up as much as the back.
Gotcha.
So like their back has gotten a lot stronger, but their chest and biceps and triceps are a little bit less strong.
So what you're saying here is that baby's got back.
That is exactly what I was
Yes.
saying. Thank you.
So you were also saying off air before we started, because I don't actually know these things, but that it's also when they roll this out, it's like retroactive, so you'll be able to see it's not like it started on a certain date and moving forward, they've like layered it on top of your history, so you can see this progress like immediately or lack thereof.
Right. Yeah. That is exactly right. Yeah. I think this is really cool because basically they're giving you even more details about your strength score, and this will help people have a more intuitive connection between the work that they're doing and the movement up of what they're doing. So that's cool.
And if you're watching the video right now, you can see a little guy front and back.
I love little guy front and back.
That's what they call him.
I mean, that's what we call him.
Yeah, that's what everybody's calling him. So, but
I just want to mention one other thing.
Yes.
These benchmarks, I thought that's what they were. I had to lean in because the screen is so tiny.
Would you like to borrow my readers?
So anyway, the benchmarks, so it will tell you by age where you stand compared to the average of all tonal users.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like if you oops, you made the little guy go away. So like the benchmarks there, if you can see, it says like all genders and it says male and female. You can see exactly where you are compared to everybody else. That's great. That's a really good way to like put yourself, like give yourself credit for all the hard work that you've done. So I really like that. It's more ways to give yourself like a boost, a mental boost.
And it's probably also a good way to know where your weaknesses are.
Exactly.
And be like, oh, then I need to do more of the bilateral steps.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking. The bilateral steps.
I got to work on my tricons.
None of those are things.
Not for me, because I don't work out.
They're not things
they're
for anyone.
atrophied.
I mean, that's just like anatomy 101, and those are not real things.
Oh, somebody gets their personal trainer certificate, and they just got to rub my face in it.
I feel like knowing what a bicep is kind of obvious, honey.
If you say so.
Yeah, I do.
So, good news for people. The T-Locks are back.
They are. They are back in the gear shop.
I still think it sounds like a 90s rapper.
Good old T-Lock.
Oh, T-Lock. Oh, I saw him open for Flo Rida. He was great. I know Flo Rida is not a 90s rapper, but
no, I'm
a rock guy.
Right. But people have been asking for these and asking and asking and asking. So this will, if those people listen to this podcast, they will be really excited about this.
Cool.
And if they don't, hopefully they are at least over on the official Tonal community page, because they really need to know, because they post about it.
Do they?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, like this is a big thing.
Well, they're $19.95, so I say we just buy them all.
Right.
And now they're $39.95. I wonder how many they have in stock.
Nobody do that.
Don't do that. Don't be a dick. If anybody from Tonal's listening, they're like, please shut up.
Don't give people ideas.
More so than usual when I talk. They're like, please shut him up.
New Tonal content.
So really big news.
Really
for
big.
Tonal, really big news.
Yeah.
They have partnered with Tony Horton.
I mean, that's just, he truly is legendary. He truly is. I mean, this is freaking exciting.
Yeah, like even I've heard of P90X.
Yeah.
I mean, mainly because it was in a Bruno Mars song, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
That's when you break through in the pop culture that you can get someone like me to be aware of it.
Yeah.
It's like when I know about a sports thing.
It is.
It's like, oh, that must have been a big deal.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they teamed up with Tony, and they did 5 workouts just for Tonal. But here's the thing. This has a lot of layers. Layer 1, he did these 5 workouts, but it also introduces a brand new feature, or a new class type to Tonal, which is called live. Now I know what you're thinking. It's not actually live.
Okay.
But the instructor does the workout with you. So in the past, for you non-Tonal users,
right,
Tom, the instructor would tell you what moves to do, and then somebody would show you how to do them while you did them.
Okay. Now,
with this live beta testing, they do the workout right in front of you, the moves with you.
Okay.
And so my understanding is that is the first step. That was the words that were used, the first step to getting to live classes.
Interesting.
On the Tonal. So that's another layer.
I wonder how they'll work the live classes, just real quick, because I know that like on Peloton, some the instructors, because they teach a lot of classes, like,
right,
I'm not talking them down, but like, right, maybe that the resistance isn't as high,
right,
or like I wonder if like they'll do the moves, but like they're not doing their full weight, they're doing half weight or something.
Well, I think that that's possible, except for the fact that when you have body weight exercises, you can't do that.
That's sure. That's true. That makes sense.
I think that's a great question. But since this is beta testing, there are 5 of these workouts that start with Tony, and they also had a tonal talk with Tony.
Okay.
So Kate got to interview him and learned lots of interesting things about Tony. He was diagnosed in 2014 with a rare disease called Huntington's something or other.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it is a complication from shingles. It's a rare complication, and it does all kinds of things. It's like having shingles in your ear is the way he kind of described it at one point. And so like you have balance issues, you can have like stroke-like conditions. You know how your face can freeze up, like Bell's palsy?
Right. Yeah.
That was one of the things. He was having trouble walking. Like it creates all these issues. And he, through diet, exercise, and meditation, he has come back to his normal self in just a few years from having this. So that's amazing. Also, I found it fascinating. He was a normal person in his 20s. And by normal, I mean he did not work out every day. He ate the pizza and he drank the beer and he watched the football games. And he did not, fitness was not his life in his 20s. It became later in life that became a thing for him. So for people who are like, oh, it's too late. No.
Right.
It's not. He's 62. You just saw pictures of him.
That dude was 62?
62.
Whoa.
Right? Right?
I would not have guessed 62.
That's 6 years younger than my dad.
At best 61. That's as high as I would have gone. No, seriously, like watching the video as we played it for the people that watch the YouTube stuff, like holy cow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very impressive. So I also learned that he is all about holistic health. And what I mean by that is that he approaches it from a mind-body connection. So there's working out, there's eating well, and there's also making sure that you're handling stress by doing the meditation and the yoga. And so the classes that he put out, you have upper body, lower body, but you also have yoga. And I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I see you have some pictures to show on YouTube for anybody who is listening. Well,
this is from the Tonal website, just talking about his new classes.
Yes, sorry, I meant YouTube channel, like our YouTube channel.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
Yes, and so this kind of, what we're doing here is scrolling through the different types of classes that he has. And 62.
The dude does not look 62.
He does not. So here's the classes: Fit Full Body, Legit Legs and Chest, Legendary Legs and Core, Yoga Flex Flow, and Action Arms. Now, there's also some additional classes that are coming.
Okay.
So they're in the process of being made.
It's just a start.
This is just a start. There's another 5 that are being made, and he wouldn't go into details of what they were going to be. He just said that they were going to be different. He is, I mean, he's either the best, like he doesn't do everything that he gets offered. He is very choosy with his partnerships, and he legit loves the tonal, like legit loves the tonal. He was going on and on about how excited he was about the technology when he first saw it. And he's had this in his own personal gym for a few years now.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a very cool thing. There's also some existing instructor classes that are using this live beta feature.
Okay.
So we'll move away from the Tony feature and talk about those. Let's see. There were a few classes that came out this week. Paul has a quick fit. It's a full body. It's only 11 minutes. So like this is perfect for like getting in, doing a full body and getting out. What I love about this is, again, this is that live feature. So Coach Paul is doing the entire workout with you. And also Coach Natalie had one that is all upper body. And so that is called Up the Intensity. Upper Body Burst with Coach Natalie.
Okay.
And then there's a few quick classes that came out. There's Coach Pablo had a couple, and then they're all very short, the little short classes.
Interesting.
Which are nice to fit in like at the end of a workout.
I wonder if they're starting to find that people want shorter classes, because I know that like over the years, over in the Peloton side of things, that, you know, a lot of people, you hear a lot of people saying where are the 45-minute classes, but when they actually look at the metrics, It's the 20 and 30-minute classes that people are actually taking that I wonder if maybe they're starting to see something similar, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these, 12, 13, 15-minute classes.
I think there's that, but I think also that they're great to add on to exist. So like if you're a person who wants to fill in every day on your calendar to get those dots, then it's great to be able to do, like, let's say you are doing cardio of some kind, you can do a quick 10-minute workout on your trainer, or maybe you don't have any cardio in your home, you only have the tonal. This allows you to do cardio because they have so many options. They have the dance cardio, they have the HIIT workouts, so you can kind of keep those matching of the cardio and the strength together.
And I guess you could even stack them and kind of do your own little a la carte program.
And I have done that. There's especially when I was doing like the challenge for the tonal, it's a lot of fun to stack the classes together to do that. And they're very seamless how quickly they start up.
Oh, really?
So I just want to mention that we're talking about this live feature being a beta. And so Tonal is looking for feedback for that. So people need to reach out and give Tonal their feedback so that they can continue to tweak it and make sure that it's something that people are getting a lot out of.
And then there's also some other new stuff on Tonal. Yeah.
So a while back, you might remember that Tonal had a partnership with Theragun.
I remember.
Okay. Well, now they have Theragun content. So they have classes that you can take that show you how to use your percussion recovery instrument and warm up and cool down.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like if you have one of these,
instead of like stretching at the end, they're like, grab that Theragun.
Exactly.
Punch yourself in the thigh.
Right. I mean, it's a little more targeted than that. But yeah, this is why you don't teach classes.
Punch yourself in the bilateral seps.
Right. But this is great because so many people have these recovery tools, but they don't necessarily know the most effective way to use them.
Totally. You'd probably just start pointing at yourself and like, well, I guess that's as good a place as any.
That feels good. I'll do that.
Right.
Oh, that hurts, but they say that hurting's good, so I'll do that. You really don't know.
Totally.
So having somebody do a whole class with you that's like, here's exactly how you should be using it. And they're short. So again, like you were just talking about with the adding on, this is another great way. This is a good warm up and cool down. They have upper body, core, and lower body that you can do warm ups and cool down. So great way to get your muscles all primed and also cool them down properly. And that means you can work out again the next day and not be in pain. So who doesn't love that?
I don't love that.
Well, okay. Everybody else loves that.
So previously,
yes,
on the superset, we had talked about Tonal's Black Excellence program.
Yes, we had.
And there's some new stuff coming up with that.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool. Well, they all have been pretty cool. This one, it really struck me because it's a Tonal employee, Merveille Mukoko, and founder of Gear 'em Up, Khadijah Suleman. And Merveille is going to actually interview Khadijah about her experience being a Black female founder.
Okay.
And she's also going to talk to her about Gear 'em Up's mission and how we can all help that mission, bringing athletic apparel, equipment, and education to underserved children. So I really like that Tonal has continued the momentum of this program. It's not something they did one time.
Right.
They're very committed to that, and I appreciate that. But I love highlighting different people from different realms. It's very cool.
Totally, and I think it's cool that it's not like an
instructor.
And it's a Zoom call, so it's like.
That's a good point.
That it's like it's not like on a platform where maybe you can type something in the messages. It's like you can actually interact.
Well, I wonder if that's the case because it is a Zoom call. You're right about that. But I know that there are settings on Zoom that you can, silence the people because I've had people at work do that to me.
Why would
anybody do that?
Why would anyone want to silence you? But it makes me think though, if since they chose Zoom as the platform that. Maybe they're silencing people while they talk, but later on they open up for questions.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put words in their mouth. When I see Zoom,
that's a great point.
I kind of think that's the direction they're headed.
Well, that's fabulous. I hadn't even considered that, so that's very exciting. But make sure that you get a chance to check that out because I think this is going to be another good one.
And then real quick, you have a little rumor that's percolating.
Yeah. Coach Jackson kind of kind of hinted.
Yes.
I mean, he pretty much just said.
Okay.
But
is that a rumor anymore if
not
they just say
really.
it?
I just like to, I like to be cagey.
Okay.
Yeah, but
This is why people silence you.
Anyway, Go Big or Go Home 2 is in the works. Like, it's almost done.
Gotcha.
He kind of made it sound like it was coming out over the holiday.
Gotcha.
Like the holiday season.
Okay.
I don't mean like it's coming out in the next week or anything.
Sure, but it's just around the corner.
It is just around the corner.
So if you like the first one, here's your chance for Go Big, Go Home 2 or Too Big, Too Home. I'm trying to do like Fast and Furious.
It's not working.
The Go Big, the Go Home.
I think I know why you get silenced.
I don't get silenced. I just get ignored. Exactly. And then finally, Coach Nicolette and Allison are teaming up for Tonal Treats.
Yes. They're doing, okay, so you know that once a month they do these Tonal Treats.
Yes.
Well, this month, November 20th, 5 p.m. Pacific, they are teaming up to make no-bake pumpkin pie. I don't even know how you do that.
Like, this is just raw pumpkin? That sounds disgusting.
This is why you get silenced. No, I don't know how it exactly works. I know that ingredients get put together and you have to let it set for like a few hours. So I'm not exactly sure. I've never made pumpkin pie, but I think it honestly, with these, my favorite part about these Tonal Treats is it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's more about
just hanging out.
It's more of than hanging out.
So then I have a question. I don't think I've ever connected the dots here. Are they all no bake items?
Well, no, there have been items that get baked.
Okay.
Yeah. This one, I think it's more
Do
about...
the instructors get baked?
I didn't ask. It's none of my business. But what I think it's more about is the fact that like it's a healthy version of the treats.
Okay.
So like it's Tonal Treats, but it's also like they're using ingredients that are healthier than the traditional ingredients.
Gotcha. I see.
With varying results.
I
Because
thought they were all like no bake items, and I was just like, were they in prison?
there's no baked turkey.
This is how this is what they do in prison. They need to make all their things where they don't have a way to cook.
No. But I will say that Coach Nicolette is a self-professed not a good cook. And so I think that that's part of it.
Gotcha. Part of the charm is that it doesn't taste good.
Honestly, part of the really, it's just about watching them hang out and try to make it. Whether it turns out good or not, it's always a blast. They are some of my favorite tonal activities. Even when we have other people over or we're doing other things, I have been known to turn on Tonal Treats instead.
And that's when I get silenced.
Checking in with the Tonal community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Nick Utter. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, doing well. Yourself?
Good.
Good.
Plugging along.
So, do you have? I feel like you might have an animal in the room there with you.
Yeah. Keen detection skills. We have a golden doodle who, actually, if I was on my other camera, it would be pointing down a little bit more, and he'd probably show up a lot.
Oh, I can see. I
He's
can
2
see the
years
top.
old.
I can see the top of his head.
Yeah, and he's very loud. It's a very loud breed. Hypoallergenic, but loud. So
pros and cons.
But yeah, yep. So he makes himself known throughout the day in various meetings, but hopefully he'll be cool here.
That's
well,
awesome.
They need to like do another like fancy breed to breed out the loudness. Be like a whisper doodle.
Whisper doodle.
Yeah, we've tried a little bit of like manual bark collars for him, but we quickly kind of gave up on that. It just felt like a little bit much. But we got to the point where we hit the vibrate button and he just know that we were messing around and go, oh, I'll quiet down.
It's kind of like whenever you'd have like a teacher that would be like,
yeah. I mean, we only had to shock him, and it was very low. I mean, actually, I made sure to shock myself first because I wanted to know what I was going to put him through.
Totally get that.
Yeah, and then once or twice, and he didn't like it, or you'd have to turn it up because he'd be super amped up about something, and but then eventually you vibrate and then buzz, with the actual shock, and after 2 or 3 times, you just hit vibrate and you'd say, oh, okay. But he's got to be very, very well behaved. We have him outside off leash all the time, hiking and backpacking and just running around, throwing a ball around with him. So he's a good dog.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So what I always like to kind of start off with is how you found Tonal. Like, how did it come into your life?
It was, I probably saw some sort of a web ad, probably on Instagram. I know there's a million of them that pop up on there. So I think I saw that and then dug into it, looked at some YouTube videos, various outlets reporting on it. This would have been about a year ago now.
Okay.
We actually got ours in March, I believe it was, early pandemic. But it's just, it's a pricey system.
Sure.
It's a big investment to make versus maybe I'll throw another lat machine in the basement or something.
Yeah.
You can do that for a couple $100 if you're not being too picky. And so I knew I wanted it. And I think I brought it up to my wife in passing while we were out at lunch one day. And she said, oh, I've been looking at that too. And so all of a sudden you're like, well, it's half as expensive now if we're both going to use it, right? So, yeah, we decided we wanted to pull the trigger. It was just a matter of timing. And then, COVID started happening. We're in New England area. So, outside, we're in Connecticut, just outside of New York. So we got hit kind of early. And we kind of took that as an opportunity to bite the bullet and grab it. I've never been a gym goer. I've been to the gym, like to take my kids to swim lessons. I'll hit gyms at hotels. I worked out when rowing in high school here and there in a gym room we had. But I've never been like a gym rat. So we just kind of hooked something up in the basement. So it wasn't the whole let's get away from the gym or the gyms are going to close and we have no choice. But it was just this opportunity to do a lot more than I could do downstairs with, a rack, a bench, a bar, some dumbbells and bands, really wanted to get into some of the more lateral movements, pull downs, and it just seemed like a really interesting machine. And like I could do a lot more with it and a lot more easily. And then thinking about adjusting weights back and forth, with me doing one set of weight, my wife doing another, and between every set, we're taking all the plates off, putting plates on. And it's like, well, it'll just do that for you,
Yeah,
so it just seemed like a super efficient way to work out.
Yeah, I guess a 45-minute workout on Tonal is probably an hour workout in the real world by the time you
move everything
around. I never really thought about that. Yeah. How much time that must add.
And we try to take advantage of the space we have in our basement. We've got one room cut out for it. And, there's a treadmill down there. And we've got, I wouldn't advise anybody ever do this, but we ended up getting like horse pads, like for horses to stand on in stalls. It's a great mat, but the process of getting it into your house, into the basement and setting it up and then moving a squat rack and everything out of the way and putting it back on top. It's kind of a nightmare.
There's your workout. That's your first workout right there.
But we loved using it. We loved being down there. It was some of my, get home from work or whatever I could squeeze it in before COVID and everything and try to squeeze it in before taking my kid to football or whatever. And I really enjoyed my time down there. But since getting Tonal back in March, it's kind of become more of a storage area. So I want to go back down and see how it translates back into free weights. But it's really hard to not use Tonal when it's time to work out. So.
Well, that's great to hear from Tonal's perspective.
You know what it reminds me of real quick is when I was a teenager and I had this huge vinyl collection. I probably had 1,000 records. I was 17 and like CDs came out and I had like 8 CDs and all I listened to were the CDs. And I stopped listening to the vinyl, so I took all the vinyl and sold it and bought CDs, and that's what it reminds me of. Is just like I have all this other stuff that I've had for years, but like I like this new thing, so screw it.
Well, there's that aspect of it where it's it's a new thing that you want to try out and but also there's the convenience of it. But I'm kind of curious about your experience because from my understanding you have always lifted heavy. Like you mentioned you have a rack. So you're not like I have never been a gym goer. I've also never been a weight lifter. It's always been super intimidating to me. So from your perspective, I'm curious what your thoughts are on Tonal versus your standard weights, because I hear so many people say to me, oh, I'm not sure about Tonal because I lift, 700 pounds. I'm making up numbers.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, those are real numbers.
I mean,
those numbers exist.
they exist.
It was low for me, but
yeah. If you were like, I lift quartfler pounds, that's a made up number.
That's a made up number. Okay,
yeah.
Well, somewhere between 700 and flour numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, can you put it into words, like what that's like to go from, using that traditional squat rack, using those traditional machines to tonal?
I mean, the first impression moving on to it, I was worried that the 200 wouldn't be enough when we were first getting it. And I remember telling my wife, I'll just go to the basement if I want to, do more. I have not. Tonal it's definitely a lot more difficult if you're going to, just to give it a round number, if you're going to bench 100 pounds with free weights versus 100 pounds on tonal, it's a lot harder. I like telling people I've got a buddy, played a bunch of football, real strong guy, came over one day and checked it out. And I'm like, what are you benching right now? And to whatever he was benching. And I'm like, all right, let's just do it at 100. So pulled the bench out for him, put it into, a tryout mode or add a friend, that kind of thing. And had him go on there, just did a free workout, put it at 100. And he was struggling. He had no idea that it was going to be that difficult. And I think a lot of it is the balance that's required with the way that the weight comes down. You're engaging other muscle groups. I've definitely noticed development outside of the target muscles a lot more.
Really?
I feel like I've been able to get much more well-rounded workouts using it. But yeah, I mean, if I'm going to curl 50 pounds in my basement with Bowflex Select Tech or something, right? And then I'm going to try to do that same weight on tonal. It's a lot more difficult for me. So, I'd use bands and I'd use free weights and, plates and bars and everything else, but equivalent weight on tonal has just been that much more difficult. Also, and I don't know, target audience, right? But I was at a point where I've had a history of back injuries, some of which from working out, some of which from just unfortunate accidents. But I was looking as I'm getting older, I'm in my 40s now, but as I started getting older, I should probably stop trying to push all the weight in the world. And, I'm wearing a compression sleeve and I've got a wrist and everything else. I was at the point where I was curling a lot of weight. I was benching a lot of weight, but then I'd come upstairs and my daughter would ask for help pouring a glass of milk. And I couldn't pour the milk without using two hands because I was just banging up my wrist so badly.
Oh my
pushing
gosh.
That much weight. Yeah. And so it's well, this is kind of dumb. It's cool that I can push more numbers and that's fun. And you always want to move ahead, but it's I should really be going slower reps, higher rep count and less weight because I'm not a kid anymore. And so, tonal also felt nicely in that area. I will say that, with leg movements, I'm definitely doing a lot of those at full weight, 100 pounds if it's a one arm or 200 pounds if it's two. And so I've been asking in feedback, hey, could we get a rep counter? So instead of saying, hey, you can increase, we increased you 2 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever, increase me another couple of reps. Maybe one week I do or one day I do a 8, 10, 12, and the next time I do 10, 12, 14 reps, that kind of thing. But the weight is heavier than you would imagine on tonal. So it's more of a challenge. I did tell myself I'm going to have to go in the basement and keep working out to keep up with the heavy weights, and I haven't. And also I just find it to be smarter as I age personally, and everyone's going to be different, right?
Sure,
but I find it smarter as I age to control the rep, complete reps, take your time with it, and just push more and burn out, as opposed to, hey, we got to throw more weight on the rack.
So, since you're you've been lifting for a long time, you're very knowledgeable about it. Do you find the personal training coaching aspect helpful, or is that kind of, I don't know, superfluous for you?
I didn't think I'd want it. I thought I'd want to actively avoid it.
Sure.
But I do like it. I'll bounce back and forth between programs and workouts that are guided, and then just do my own sometimes, especially if there are movements I haven't done that I just want to try and get exposure to, because some of them just don't seem to pop up for me in the programs or workouts that I do, but they're in the library. Other times it's just, maybe, my wife and I tend to work out together. We'll do the partner workouts. So maybe she's not feeling well one day, or she's just too busy, and I'll just go do something that will fit in between our workouts. Okay. I love the guided stuff. I think that the insight that the various coaches bring, like I said, I've never been a gym guy. I haven't had a personal trainer. My son has actually had a personal trainer, but I haven't.
How old is your son?
He is 12 now, just turned 12.
Kids are so spoiled.
Pretty much. He was running flat-footed in football, gotcha. And so we said, hey, he can be a lot faster. So we took him in mainly for agility and did a little strike stuff. And so whenever I was there, I'm kind of taking notes and watching, because it was the closest I ever had to having a trainer available. But yeah, there are definitely things that I would do my routine in the basement. It's easy to get stuck in routine and just kind of do what works for you. I started off just doing a strong lift program with my wife where we do, just 5x5 reps of squats, deadlifts, bench presses, overhead presses, etc. And just kind of have one set one day, one set the next day, or rest a day and the day after. So coming on here, there's been a lot of great pointers, a lot of things that I didn't really know or understand for myself. So it's great to hear. I don't really see a huge distinction, depending on the workout you do, between like advanced and beginner, right? So I'm happy to go back and do a beginner and get some of that advice to go back and fill in some of those basics. It's easy to forget about. I'm also one of those people that when I'm lifting weights, I get real dumb and my brain just stops working.
That's why they're called dumbbells.
Some of that feedback.
I don't know if you know that or not, but that's a true thing I just made up.
That is a fact.
But
having them there is great.
But by what kind of example? Like, give us an example of like something that you do when you're just like on.
Yeah, what does that mean specifically? Embarrass yourself for us.
I'm gonna totally contradict what I just said because this is actually a really bad example of it. But it was about 2 weeks ago. I was doing, probably wasn't deadlifts. It was probably some form of a squat, but I was on there doing it. And I think it was doing one of Coach Nicolette's videos. And she had mentioned not to keep your back straight, make sure that you're not arcing your back. And I was just in full dummy mode. I was lifting, whatever max weight was at that point. And I was going over in reps and I was exhausted. And she said, she gave that warning not to arc your back. So I listened and I actually had a very straight back, but then I rounded it.
Oh,
yeah. And so I kind of pulled something in my middle back because it was just, okay, boss says to do this. And, that was no good. So my wife finished that one up on her own. And I rested for the better part of a week, but came back and had a great workout once I iced up for a few days and rested up a few days after that.
So I kind of find it interesting that so many people who have experienced lifting, that they kind of do one of those like the same, like you said about doing the same routine, but also that they work the same body parts over and over again. And I've heard a lot of people at this point, and I've heard the coaches talk about this too, that can be really dangerous because your body you're kind of like over performing with certain muscles groups, and then you're like not performing with these others. And I guess my question kind of is for you that when new people come into Tonal and they start talking about how they don't like to follow the classes because it's too slow and they don't like to do the recovery time in between or things like that, do you think that that's something that everybody should at least try to see if it changes how they use the workout, how they experience it? Or do you think that like some people who are super knowledgeable can skip over that, or does it just depend?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in being open-minded and trying new things. And, the folks they brought in for coaches for Tonal, clearly super knowledgeable, great at what they do. So yeah, I would advise try it, give it a shot, see how it goes. I'm definitely the kind of person that would, left to my own devices, try to do twice a day if I can, not take a rest day at all and just, hit weights every day. But when I do that, which I have, but when I do that, you don't get the same results and you stifle yourself. Your body needs time to rest. I'd go downstairs and I'd do the same few stretches. So coming up here and some of the different stretches that are introduced on Tonal have been great. I get for me, at least, it's impatience, right? Of just, I want to get to it. I have a million things to do. Let me just start pushing weight. But, I look at it as having your vegetables, just sit down, do the right thing, put yourself in a good position to work out, stretch, rest. You alluded to hitting complementary muscle groups, right? Just, don't hit biceps without triceps or whatever. Push and pull. But yeah, no, I think that's all fantastic to get in there and do that, especially if you know what you're doing and it's worked for you, that's great. But I think it's important to be open-minded and try that stuff and, give it a period of time, experimentation, see how your body feels and reacts. If you're tracking metrics or measurements or whatever, look what happens there. And, you can sometimes get more with less, by giving your body a chance to rest, recover, and sometimes do these stretches. Yoga has been a place on Tonal that I haven't done as much of it as I'd like, but I've done it a handful of times. And it kicks my ass. And it's been helping with flexibility, I guess. Especially being older. There's that dog again. Yeah. So it's been the kind of thing I've always flirted with doing, especially some of my back injuries, but I've never quite gotten into it. And Tonal was that excuse to just sit down and give it a go. I'm not doing as much as I'd like, but I've experimented with it, done some of it. And I want to keep it up. I think it's a great thing that I probably wouldn't have gotten into otherwise.
So do you think that you're more willing to try things like the yoga on Tonal because it's right there, it's so accessible, you don't have to go looking for it? Or is there some other reason that now is the time, Tonal was the moment that you decided to try yoga?
I think part of it is the accessibility and that it's there. It's right on the machine. We've had DVDs around the house. I think a doctor at one point suggested something and gave me one, and I just never got around to doing it. Something about sitting in front of the TV with a workout video, just, I don't know. It didn't check 80s. Something on the man card or something. Yeah.
Which is funny because this isn't radically different than that, but there is something different about it.
I can't, it's in your head.
I can't put my finger on what it is, but you're not wrong. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's I don't, and there's, I know there's more intense variations on yoga and stuff out there that you can get into, but, I never really felt like it, but with it, I knew it was something I should do, but then with it being right here on the machine, and maybe I'd have I'd put myself through a pretty good workout and say, you know what, I have some time left tonight, let me cool down with some yoga. That might be a good way to do things. And just, one of the intro classes or something, and said, okay, yeah, this is actually kind of nice. And what I ended up discovering, and I really want to do it more for this reason, is it kind of feels like, for me, if I go through it, I'm really pushing it and I'm sweating doing yoga and everything. I'm not the most flexible guy in the world. I'm getting better. But sometimes I have this feeling in my muscles like I just got to have a massage or something. And It's this great feeling afterwards, just, relax and be in that. It's not, sitting there for 60, 90 minutes, getting all the kinks worked out, but it's reminiscent of that. And yeah, I definitely want to do a little bit more of it. And I'm glad that I was introduced to doing it to at least some extent so far.
That's awesome. How about any of the other content on Tonal? I mean, they've added so much. You working on some bar or cardio dance or prenatal
cardio
workouts?
dance and prenatal might be stretches for me.
I guess technically you are prenatal, right? You haven't started that yet. So,
I mean, you're making some assumptions here, but yeah.
Touche. My apologies.
Wow. That's true. Good for you for calling him on it.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, my wife pulled me into some dance classes, and they told us to stop coming. So I don't think she was fine, but they were like, we can't take your money anymore, sir. It's probably 17 or 18, but it was something she wanted to do. We've been together forever.
They were like, that town in Footloose where you can't dance? You should move there.
Yeah. Yep. I've got a real estate agent. They'll get you out there.
Yeah. You can date John Lithgow's daughter. I'll love it.
Yep. So, yeah, the dance stuff, probably not. I have tried a little bit of the more high-intensity stuff. I think Coach Jared on there has some high-intensity videos. When I would work out in the basement and do weights in the past, if left to my own devices, I'd be down there for just a ridiculous amount of time. And ridiculous as in the benefit is gone. I'm just spending time down there, but I'd enjoy it. So, I'd go down there at night, and I might be down there from 10 o'clock to midnight, just pushing weights. And then I'd wrap it up with, depending on what I had in the tank, either an 8 or 16-minute interval run on a treadmill. Want to get interval for the, intensity and then rest, intensity and rest. And I figured, I've spent all this energy already on weights. I'm warmed up. I don't have to wait to get the benefit from the run. As soon as I start going, I'm going to feel it. So that's one area it would be nice to get back into doing a little more cardio. Over the summer, I was doing some interval running at a local school because that was all closed down. I just bring the dog and we'd run, and sometimes he'd tackle me. But it was all in good fun. But yeah, the high intensity is fun. I've enjoyed doing that on and off. Again, I do probably have the man thing of, I just need to push weight. I don't want to do off machine movement. But like I said, it's eating your vegetables. It's healthy. It's putting you in a better position to be more successful with the actual pushing of weight and all that. I'm trying to focus less on strength score nowadays and focus on, I guess, other metrics. But it's important to have goals. And I think whether it's yoga, high intensity, whatever it may be, rounding out what you're doing is important to serve, gains on the weightlifting side.
Definitely.
Do you have any advice for people that are maybe just getting a tonal?
I guess kind of similar to what I said earlier, just, play around, explore, don't say no to anything that's on there, at least check it out. If you don't have the accessories, I feel like you're limiting yourself to an extent. So, if you can get your hands on those, by all means, grab them. So you just have that many more movements that you can squeeze in. I think when I first got it, I started just doing my own custom workouts. But pretty quickly switched over. Okay, I'll do these workouts rather. I stuck away from programs for a little while. I didn't get into programs for a little bit because I wanted that variety to just reach around and feel out this area and feel out that area and understand what there was out there. I guess the big thing I'd say to avoid is being overexcited and just using it nonstop. Because that was really hard at the beginning to just go in and say, all right, I'm going to do my, they have that first workout they have you do just to get your assessment workout, I guess it is, right? To get a starting strength score. And to just do that and say, all right, I'm going to leave it alone for the rest of the day. I've used it for a half hour or 20 minutes or whatever it was. And now I'm going to come back in 2 days. It's like being told, you played with your toys for a half hour on Christmas morning. Now leave them alone for 2 days. We're going to grandma's. Yeah.
Well, children of divorce can relate to that.
Yeah.
Sad but true. Oh yeah, that's a really good point, because I definitely remember when I first got it, I just wanted to constantly use it, but I was like, but I'm so tired and sore.
Yeah, and you don't want to give yourself a repetitive stress injury or something like that. And I do feel like when I have hurt myself using tonal, it's been a mix of too much yard work and dump runs and whatever else we're doing around the house. Too many home projects, plus working out, plus me doing something foolish. In the basement, it was probably more of a habitual foolishness, using free weights. The things where I mentioned where like I need 2 hands to pour a gallon of milk, where it's, I just curled all this weight, but I can't pour this gallon of milk without assisting myself. So it was just going too hard, too heavy. So I feel like on Tonal, especially if you're watching the coaches, they give you a good pace. Mm-hmm. So I do, and my wife and I'll be working out and looking at time under tension and kind of pointing things out to each other, usually after the set, so as to not make anybody too angry when they're all, pumped up and working. But we'll tell, hey, this was a little fast, or you didn't quite hit that, and give each other that feedback. So yeah, Tonal's been great for that, for me, just being able to stay healthier while doing it. I think I've gotten a lot more functional strength out of it and functional fitness out of it. I was able to burn quite a bit of fat this summer, which was nice, while without losing too much muscle, according to the app and scale I'm using anyway. We'll see how accurate that is. So that was nice, because that's always been something that I've struggled with. I initially got into weights with her because it was like, well, if we're lifting heavy, dieting kind of runs a little, and this was my early just getting into this kind of mindset. If I'm not eating enough, I can't lift heavy. So this is actually something where I can't eat all these pizzas. This is doctor prescribed almost, right?
I'd be foolish not
true
to.
At all. Yeah, which is not true at all. But it was kind of I hadn't done much with working out through my 20s, let's say, and then had a back injury due to a fall in a snowstorm.
Oh wow!
And it was a story. But but yeah, put on a bunch of weight, and couldn't lift my arm over my head for a while. I couldn't carry a laptop around. I had to keep a computer at home and another at work. Yeah, it was terrible. But as part of getting back into shape, that was some of the heavy lifting, and it was a good gateway, because I didn't feel like I'm going to do mail order meals or something and constantly be starving, or something that you can't stick to. And so it became this good habit. And then with any good habit, right, you get more into this hobby or habit or what have you, and you get better at it. And you start saying, oh, well, maybe having that bag of Doritos wasn't actually a good thing. And you wise up a little bit and go, okay, well, this is good food. This is bad food.
I agree. I'm like more of a Pringles guy. So I'm right there with you.
Yep. And so, you learn and you try to behave. Today was a great food day. Yesterday was not, but you know what? I enjoyed it when I was cheating a little bit, and it's a journey, right?
It is.
So
you can't be perfect every day. That's no fun. You still gotta live.
Yeah, no, and even the strength score. I've seen my arms going down a little bit in recent days. I think I went up about 180 points in a week at one point for upper body, and said, "Wow, that's great." Yeah, and then I dropped 8, and then 8 again, or 6 after that, or whatever it was, and it's like, nah, put the numbers in the background, just keep doing the work and watch what it does over time. It's like getting on a scale twice a day or something, right? You're just going to drive yourself crazy.
I'm really curious what your strength score is, though. Do you mind sharing?
It's on this phone right now that I'm streaming on, but it's low 1300s.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I got I think core is close to 12, and those round numbers bug me.
Wow.
This 1198 will not stand, which is foolish because they're all estimates. Right? It's a measure. It's not actually. There's no diodes and needles shoved into my body telling me anything. But it's like I need 2 more points. And then you're probably just going to overwork and not get what you want out of it anyway. But yeah, I think my legs are in the low 14s. My arms are in the mid 13s, and core is like high 11s right now. But
wow.
It changes. It comes and goes.
Well, I'm nowhere near that. But that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, and it's a journey. I hadn't been lifting for years, but it was probably the better part of a decade doing all the strong lift stuff. And so, now doing this, it's a lot more discipline and refinement, and not just what I'm teaching myself or looking up, 20 pieces of conflicting advice on the internet about how you should be doing things.
It's true that.
True.
They're everywhere.
That's true on any topic. Yeah.
Yeah. And just, sussing all that out over the years, experimenting, seeing what works for you. So yeah, Tonal's been great for, just keeping me on a good path with this stuff, making sure that I'm not missing movements that I wouldn't be doing on my own in the basement, where it's like, let's just move a lot of numbers and have fun and say, wow, that was a lot. I'm great. But actually doing things to make yourself healthier and stronger, hit whatever goals you want, right? I've been burning fat on Tonal more than I would have on my own, even doing less cardio. So yeah, it's been a great machine for that and hitting those goals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess before we go, where can people find you on social media if you would like to be found?
Hopefully they can't.
Okay.
No,
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I had a Twitter account for a while, but moved off of that. So yeah, actually, the only reason I have a Facebook account, I've got a hidden account, and it's only to use the Tonal community. So yeah, I try to stay low key on the internet. I know the folks that I spend time with and talk to in real life, and outside of that, if folks have moved on into other things in other parts of the country or world, wish them all the best, and maybe I'll see them again, right? Yeah. So,
well, as someone who
meat and potatoes, I guess.
Totally.
Well,
as someone who's not low key on the internet, I get it.
Yeah. Especially right now.
Yeah. Especially right now. Yeah.
It's a weird world.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to join us. It's okay that we post this on the internet, though, right? Like that's what we do.
As long as you can you blur my face and do the voice modulation thing. Just that real low, creepy. No, that's totally fine. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is fun. So I appreciate it, guys.
Definitely. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it, and we appreciate it.
So I guess that brings this one to a close. Until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe, and they can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ClipOutCrystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/Superset Podcast. And while you're there, be sure and like the page and join the group. And wherever you're getting your podcast from, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode, and maybe leave us a review if you're so inclined. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep lifting.
The Superset is made possible in part by support from Tonal.